Okay, we're back to talk about Pluribus on Apple TV, episode 5, titled Got Milk. This episode written by Ariel Levine and directed by Gordon Smith. After what Carol did to Zosha, she gets a phone call from Laxmi berating her for making all of the others cry, including her son. Carol falls asleep in the hospital and wakes up to learn that everyone has left Albuquerque because they need some space from her. In a voice message, she learns that they will help her get what she needs, but they need to be apart from her for a while. Carol makes a video to send to the other 12 unafflicted around the world that she is learning more about the others, and there is something they can do to reverse what has happened. She begs for their help, but at least by the end of this episode, she has not heard from any of them. While trying to get rid of her garbage, Carol finds hundreds of used milk cartons in town. She tracks the cartons down to a local dairy and learns that the cartons actually contain some kind of liquid that is water mixed with a substance that she can't identify. She makes another video to send to the unafflicted, telling them what she's learned about that, and then continues digging into what the substance is. That leads her to trace its origins to a food packing plant. When she heads there to search the facility, she finds something shocking underneath a tarp, and we are left on a huge cliffhanger going into episode 6, which will now be 9 days from now.
Yeah.
I think I messaged you right after this episode saying, man, all this buildup, and we don't get to see what she learned here. So I don't remember much about sort of cliffhangers or shocking endings or sort of this sort of type of ending on Vince Gilligan shows before, but certainly I was very interested to see what she was doing and even more interested to find what she has learned.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly have some thoughts about that. I don't know if we want to start there. Do we want to start at the end? Do we want to
Yeah,
go?
why don't we work our way there? Because Carol being the detective in this episode, I thought was quite interesting. So we can sort of build up to that if you want.
Okay, yeah. I think that's a good plan. I mean, to start with instead more the beginning, as it were. Um, I thought this was quite interesting with how the others react. Carol goes into Zojia's hospital room and asks the nurse if Zojia's going to be okay.
Hmm.
And just the tone of how the nurse says she's going to be fine.
Yeah,
It's like we're already a little passive aggressive. Like these people aren't going to get aggressive.
yeah.
But I was really entertained by how they play with that, which I hadn't really thought about as a possibility, I guess, coming out of episode 4. Um, Shared their feelings. What
Yeah.
thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I found it interesting for a couple of reasons. Number one, I think that the conversation with Laxmi happens right away, and then this nurse interaction is 2 or 3 minutes into the episode. And then it is 45 minutes of no other dialogue from any other person in the entire show besides Carol and hearing this voice message that she gets a couple of times. Um, but then just this sort of turn of, I mean, it's hard to say personality because these beings don't have personality necessarily, but this sort of turn of interaction with Carol that they go from everything's been this just very jovial, hi Carol, what can we do for you, Carol, to I mean, literally, one of the people that she speaks to doesn't respond to her, and then to hear just via voice message essentially that they don't want anything to do with her right now, that they need this space. And so my mind jumps a couple of places, jumps to biological imperative, jumps to, this is self-preservation. It jumps to, um, we need some time to not focus on you and focus more on what we can do to make you more assimilated with us. So just lots of different pathways here, but I wasn't expecting the afflicted or the others to sort of have this sort of turn of personality.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm trying to think about it and interpret it in a more human sort of way, if that makes
Hmm.
sense, right? So she made them cry,
Yeah.
everyone in the world, with a dozen exceptions. And, we'd previously seen what happened when she got angry and they all kind of glitched out a bit and people died.
Yeah.
So this isn't that, right? Um, but that they are deeply emotionally affected by what she's doing and it makes them really sad. So of course we've got the sci-fi premise at play, but I'm trying to think about to what extent how they react makes sense um in relation to that at a more human level, right? Like
Yeah. the thing you made, and it just seems maybe I don't know if it seems odd or it just seems inconsistent, but she has this outburst that kills all these people. Um, she does that once or she do that twice. Maybe she's on the verge of doing it twice. But anyway, she's done
She did
that
it
once.
twice.
Yeah, she does it. Okay, she does it twice. All these people die. They don't have this reaction at that point. It's after this sort of second time that she has done something directly to one of their people, Zoja,
Hmm.
that they are almost, I don't want to say, I don't know what the right words are, taking harder or, it's caused them to have this reaction. But it wasn't to this outburst. It was either one of their people individually or after a series of these things happening, we just realized we cannot be around you anymore.
One thing that stands out to me there is when she kind of explodes in anger, it's unintentional. I think maybe this
Right.
is what they care about.
Right.
Even the second time, right? The first time, it's unintentional, and she has no idea what's going to happen. Um, the second time, maybe she does know what's going to happen, but she is absolutely hammered on Chardonnay or whatever,
Yes. Yes.
and it's still unintentional, right? What she does to Zosha at the end of episode 4 is fully intentional. It's clear that she was carrying out a plan in order to try to get information out of them in this way. So I guess it makes some sense to me that that hurts more. All even though the previous stuff caused millions of people to die, whereas this didn't. Apparently, I don't think anyone died here.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
still kind of uh, you know, you broke my heart, Carol. We're 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 trying
Yeah.
to do everything we can for you, you know,
Yeah,
and
they can
and
chalk the rest of it up to ignorance or lack of understanding or lack of knowledge of how things work. But yeah, I hadn't thought about it that way. This is the most intentional, direct. I am purposefully doing something to you that may or may not cause you harm just to benefit myself. And that elicits in itself a very emotional response by everybody crying and pleading with her. And then again, okay, we need a sort of this distance. So yeah, probably too much to be a coincidence there.
yeah. So they need some space. I thought the repetition of the voicemail message was very funny
Yes.
because it's rather long, and the first time that you hear it, the first time Carol hears it, it makes sense that it would be as long as it is. But
Yeah.
then every time she calls them, it's still that same message. You have to wait through the whole
And
thing.
there's none of this like, we can do now, press one to, if you know who you're going to speak to or whatever, none of that. You got to listen to the
No, it's
entire thing.
the exact same thing. Our feelings about you haven't changed, Carol. We just need a little space.
Right.
And then the drones. I thought that was a hilarious touch as well. That yeah, man, that they mean it. They need space,
They are gone, gone.
They're gone. I don't know. One thing I did get to thinking about is how far away did they go? They just abandoned Albuquerque, and they abandoned Albuquerque entirely.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
it looked like from that scene when she's in the hot, or she goes what to the top of the hotel and she's looking across the freeways, and there are just cars just going outside of town in every direction. We don't know from that whether some people were left behind, but it seems like everybody that they could get to go has left that city.
yeah, I mean, I guess I'm not. I don't so much think that there is anyone that stayed behind amongst the others, right?
Right, right.
And I don't think any of the other unafflicted people, if that's the term we're going to use,
Hmm.
live in Albuquerque, New Mexico. So I
Correct.
think she has
Correct.
functionally been abandoned in the city, sort of. She
Yeah.
can still call them up and they'll send a drone. Um, but the other thing I was thinking about there is if she were to get in her car and drive out of Albuquerque, how
Hmm.
far would she have to go before she found people? Um,
Yes.
I don't know if she'll do that at some point or how this is going to play out, but it was something that occurred to me, I guess. Or
And then the question of how, I mean, you can't continue on, I presume, with a show like this with that happening forever. So how much time do they need? How much space do
yeah,
they need? How long does this last? You know, I can only presume that, she finds something that they don't want her to find, and so some people have to start coming back into the picture here. Maybe we see that in the next episode, but yeah, I mean, you can't just have Carol and Albuquerque by herself for another season and a half. So something's going to do an about face there.
Yeah, or she confronts them, or manages to make contact with Manusos, who's not in this episode. We kind of
Yeah.
thought by perusing IMDb that we'd learned that he was going to be in every episode from here on out, but I guess as sometimes happens, IMDb was simply wrong on that.
Yeah, there was no trace of anyone. I mean, interesting to see one of the others, not the other, one of the unafflicted,
Yeah,
get in touch with her this week, but really just for the benefit of, you made my child sad, and don't you dare do it again.
because
What's wrong with you? Yeah,
you yell at her. Yeah, it's a funny show. I think there's a real meaningful way in which it is a comedy,
yeah,
and
yeah,
even some of this stuff, I mean, plays on a line of comedy and also kind of terror, like the animals showing up. Was it like cougars going through her trash? I think that's what it was. I don't know. I'm not
yeah. Well,
always the best
the
on animals.
the subtitles label them as wolves, but I have no idea if that's what they were or not.
It was definitely wolves later that were trying to dig up Helen's corpse. Those
Right,
were
right.
wolves. But the before that, I think
Oh,
they
the
were.
first one. Yeah, I don't know.
First
I don't
one
know.
was I want to say they were cougars or mountain
Okay.
lions. But I wasn't completely positive. And didn't bother to do any research, you know. So are the predatory animals coming? You know, I got thinking back to how we know they released all the animals from the zoo. I don't think these are zoo animals though. I think this is more related to the fact that all of the people left Albuquerque.
Yeah, all the people left
Um,
Albuquerque. They have nowhere else to go. She clearly, her home is back to a really wide open expanse of some kind of field or something. So who knows what's all back there? But yeah, I mean, they've got to go to the place where the food is. Right now, Carol's the only one.
yeah, yeah. So she goes and she gets a bunch of paving stones and she covers up Helen's grave. I guess, that makes sense. Um, Spend some time that way. The milk, I guess we're on the track of that now. This is sort of the main thing. Although I feel like I want to say something about the style of the episode overall, but I don't know exactly what it is. As you mentioned, throughout most of this episode, it's just Carol on her own,
Right, right.
interacting maybe with the phone, maybe with the video camera. Um, a question that I don't know how much it matters. Have we seen a smartphone in this show? I started wondering what year it is in this show. I've been presuming it's like 2025, but I don't know if we know that.
Yeah, we would only have seen one in the usage of one in the first episode, right? Because after that, they're meaningless when they've shut
Yeah.
down all the networks. I have to go back and
To go back and
look
check, I
if
don't even
there's
remember if we
anything.
saw one
Yeah,
in that first episode.
yeah, that's a good question. I've only just presumed we were in present day, and we have very much the all other technology and sort of landmarks I can think of would put us in present day, but I don't know if we've seen that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess. I don't know. We mentioned on here before that there's so many landlines.
Yes.
And the other thing that got me thinking a little bit was about the her video camera with the memory cards that she's
Yeah.
got. I'm not suggesting that it's like the 1990s, but
Right.
I,
Right.
I'm saying that I kind of get 2006 vibes a little bit,
Hmm. I'm
or
trying to think about
something like that.
I'm trying to think about the vehicles as well, what we've seen.
I don't know if there's going to be
Um,
clues there. Again, I don't even know if this is going to matter,
yeah, right,
but
right.
it occurred to me, and so I figured I'll go ahead and mention it in case it somehow matters. Um, Maybe it's just one of these things where um, this is the kind of vibe that they like or whatever.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, and they wrote it such that cell phones stopped working right away, so they didn't have to worry about cell phones. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Maybe
I
it's just like
always, I
that.
always do find that to be an interesting, and often it works well, I always think about Lost in this scenario, right? You put people in that environment, and whatever the technology is of the day or in the future doesn't matter. because it's irrelevant. And yeah, it's sort of curious how they'll write around that, or if it ever comes up, because yeah, they've essentially written Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, internet, all of that out of the equation here.
Yeah, but I mean, it's still like, oh, okay. I'm just, I just find myself wondering to what extent is that important to the narrative as opposed to something they did to kind of solve a writing problem, you
Yeah,
know? Because yeah, that too. Why doesn't she? It like it hasn't even really come up that she is without access to the internet or whatever,
right,
you
right.
know? Whereas by this point, we've gotten so used to this. I mean, I don't know if you've had this experience where you've been deprived of the internet for even a short while, you know, and it's just like totally disruptive to my life at this point. You know, I was like,
Exactly,
what do I even
exactly.
do?
Yeah,
I guess I have books, you
yeah.
know, but
And that's why,
um,
I sort of referenced in one of our notes here, just sort of what Carol's approach is to loneliness and being isolated is, I mean, quite innovative, quite, I mean, a sense of she's not letting time waste. She is figuring out ways to, with what resource she has at her disposal, get to the bottom of a lot of things. And so her, I guess, ingenuity is really sort of driving how she's approaching this new thing. She is much like I thought how she reacted to this whole thing happening and Helen being gone. Like there's not much time waiting or grieving or mourning or trying to understand. It's just straight into action that just sort of sees her, seems to be her MO in this whole scenario.
yeah, I mean, at first she was just kind of moping around watching the Golden Girls, which I
Right,
get.
right.
But at this point, she is more on the path of I'm going to try to figure this thing out. I have the knowledge that it can be reversed,
Yes.
so got to figure out how. And if I can get these other dozen people involved in that, that would be great. But I'm going to do whatever I can myself. I think that's more or less where she's at. I was thinking though about the solitude, and I know we talked about this before, and you said some things about it, and I don't know if I did as much, but how like being the kind of person who can be pretty happy just being alone for a while,
Hmm.
or like particularly if I am around people a lot, actually, desiring that sort of
Yes.
solitude.
Yeah.
Um, and I might say that for myself, even beyond what you said for yourself a couple weeks ago. But I got thinking with this episode, like there's a difference even between what I'm thinking about, right? Like, I live alone in this apartment.
Hmm.
Okay. So it's entirely possible I could go a couple of days
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
sitting in my apartment alone or whatever. But there are still people around. You
Right.
know what I mean? Like it's a pretty big difference if like no one was around at all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
I've thought
no
about
one
that
else
before.
was
Just
in
the
the
sense
apartment
of,
building. No one else was in the whole city out there.
yeah, if you never heard a neighbor, if you never heard a car drive by, if you never heard just sort of, white noise of other things happening behind you or around you, that would be very, yeah, very
There's
staggering to have that sort of thing
there's
happen to you.
eeriness that would come along
Yes,
with that, right?
exactly.
And I mean, there are times in my life where I've had experiences that came close-ish, like
Hmm.
being alone in a big house on a big property, kind of thing. But it's still
Yeah,
like if I went and got in my car, I could find people
yeah,
pretty quick.
yeah, exactly.
Um, so I did get thinking about that here. She finds the milk. I guess we're on the path of now talking about the milk.
Yeah,
Episode's called "Got Milk." It's not milk,
not milk. Yeah, I
which
have to
is
say, did it bother you that, or do these people strike you as ones that just they're going to let milk cartons sit in a trash can or a trash dumpster for a long time? Or are they going to dispose of them, begin recycling them immediately? I don't know.
yeah.
Something about that just, I mean, it's obviously it has to happen for her to discover that. And I had not noticed it. I mean, obviously we saw Zoja drinking some things, we saw people in the hospital drinking things, but to make that connection, there had to be some sort of narrative device to allow that to happen.
I mean, I guess it makes some sense because I agree that I wouldn't see them um really procrastinating or whatever with the excuse me with the pickup of the garbage or the recycling.
Yeah.
But we're not seeing an overflowing trash can. We're not seeing an
Yes.
overflowing dumpster. You know what I
That's, I
mean?
think, the other side of the coin is I think the couple of trash cans she sees, there's like three in there or something. So they've been by recently to get them.
Yeah, and I mean the one there's more, and then she finds a dumpster that's got a whole bunch of them in it. But again, it's not overflowing.
Right,
The
right.
dumpster's not even full. Um, so does it make enough sense that they decided to just get out of Dodge without worrying about this?
Correct.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
suppose so.
Yeah.
Because I mean they're also just kind of abandoning everything else.
Exactly.
And you know, I don't know that they're abandoning it forever either.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
it's funny what the first thing that was starting to bother me a little bit was that it was milk because it's like, wait, and we already know these people are vegetarians.
Hmm.
They released all the zoo animals. It certainly wouldn't fit for them to be okay with having dairy cows that
Yeah.
they're milking, right?
They
I
wouldn't
don't,
they wouldn't have cows in a pen. They wouldn't have them in some sort of place that has them caged up. That's exactly right.
so, but they don't, right? So then it makes more sense when Carol discovers that it's not milk, but some liquid that she can't really identify. She has some stuff to test it out. She finds that its pH is neutral.
Control. Yeah.
I forget what the other thing is she says. I don't know that it was really very significant. But it's like,
It's amber or maybe straw colored. She's not really sure.
right. When it's odorless. No, there's one other like test she does on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't remember what it was, but it didn't seem like it was super significant.
No.
Um, so what is this stuff? She speculates, I think probably correctly, that they are using the milk factory there in Albuquerque just because it's available.
Hmm.
Um, and whereas in other parts of the world, they're probably using whatever else, the
Yeah.
Coca-Cola factory or whatever. That seems like it's on the right track. Um, I have some pretty definite thoughts about all of this, but I want to throw it to you first. Thoughts, speculations about what's going on with the quote unquote milk?
Yeah, good question. I think pretty clearly that the speculation that it is connected to how they stay part of a hive mind is a red herring, and that's just meant, I think, to distract us. So I don't think that's the theory. I found myself thinking more about what is the substance that's going in there. She seems to be, when she finds whatever it is she finds at the end, she's in some sort of either refrigerated or frozen section of this factory, this meatpacking plant that she's in. Maybe just shows my morbid mind. My first thought was the people that died. My first thought was something about those that they can yeah somehow use pieces or parts or substances from those that were killed as part of the joining to do something to empower them or strengthen them. That's just where my mind went for the first time.
Yeah, I'm with you, but let me take a step back and work in that direction in the way that I'm thinking about it. So, um, I said some things on the podcast last week about food, and that's where my mind ended up going, right? Because, well, we know they're drinking it, but I think
Yes.
beyond that, this is their food, you know,
Yes. Yeah.
and it's neutral pH because it's just like a mix of all the stuff you need or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then towards the end, before she lifts up that tarp and gas, we get the cliffhanger. If you're watching in that scene, there's all kinds of foods around. There's like watermelons and stuff.
Fruits and vegetables. Yeah.
Yeah, fruits and vegetables and other stuff. Um, so this is my read on it. I don't really think it necessarily has anything to do with keeping them connected to one another. As you said, I think that's sort of a red herring. Um, I think that what we're looking at is like they're Soylent,
Okay.
which is funny because okay, I don't know how much this is a like metanomic set of inferences or whatever, But in the are you familiar at all with the stuff that they sell in the real world called Soylent?
I've heard of it. Yes, yes. I've seen that
It's
before.
supposed to like meet all your nutritional requirements, and it's like
Correct.
free
Yeah.
you from eating or whatever.
Yeah.
Personally, I found this idea appealing and got some like when they were doing their initial Kickstarter, and found it to be gross, you know.
Yeah.
But beyond that, it didn't work for me somehow psychologically,
Yes.
you know.
Correct. Yeah.
So I would drink this Soylent shake, like 500 calories and like all of these nutrients and protein or whatever. And I would drink that, but then I would still like kind of feel hungry,
Yes.
and then I would eat food. And I was like, well, I'm just gonna get really fat, like this isn't gonna work for me. Anyway, of course, the reference point, I don't know why the guy who created Soylent tried to do this, a little tongue in cheek or whatever. But I take it the reference point is the film Soylent Green. Have you seen that film?
Mm. Okay.
Have you seen that film?
No, I've not seen that film.
Are you familiar with it
I mean, I know
at all?
generally about it. Yes.
What's the guy's name? The gun guy, NRA guy,
The who?
the actor who's in that movie. He's the NRA guy.
Oh gosh. All right. Hold on.
Whatever. Okay, sorry. Apologies. I can't think of this famous person's name. Anyway, right. Soylent Green is
Charlton Heston, Richard
Charles
Fleischer.
Charlton Heston. Charlton Heston. Anyway, Soylent Green is people.
Yes. 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 Yes.
So you already said this, but I struggle to come up with another possibility. What would make her shocked like that? You
Yeah.
know, um,
What? That's
human
certainly
body
not.
parts, I think
Yeah.
would do
Certainly
it.
nothing you would normally consume. Nothing you would be able to unidentify. So yeah, this idea that it is some of their own that they are processing, eating, consuming somehow. That just, I mean, that's what else would give you that sort of shocked look that we see at the end.
Right. And so like, does it make sense in the other direction that the others would do this?
Hmm.
So thinking that through, I landed on a tentative yes, along the lines of, hey, these are resources we can use. Right.
Correct. Yes. We're not going to let these
So
bodies rot and go to waste. Right.
right. So what do we do with the dead? Well, we'll process them and put them in the food. You know, why not?
Yeah.
There's nutrients there or whatever. So not like they are enacting a plan where they're killing people so that they can be cannibals, but
Yeah.
rather that they're going to um just eat what I mean. And so this opens another possibility. Maybe it's not just human body parts. Maybe she's opening that up and seeing a variety of dead animals and things like that. I don't
That's
know.
true. Yeah. That's true too.
But they won't kill. They've established they won't kill.
But
I
they will
mean,
certainly cook or process or do something with something that's already died. We've established that. We have seen them loading and we've presumed disposing of bodies, but we don't know that. We've seen them loading them into trucks and moving, transporting them somewhere, but we have no idea to where or for what.
well, but I mean, they are disposing of, even if we're right, they are disposing of bodies in this way.
Yeah, yeah,
And I really find myself thinking that's probably it because there's a certain rationality to that. I mean, if you think about it, the way that human beings deal with dead human bodies, corpses, right,
yes.
is not quite rational. We have these moral sentiments, right,
Correct. Yeah,
that are also coming out in this episode where like there's no way that Carol's going to let those wolves eat Helen's corpse, right?
correct. Yeah,
Why? You know what I mean? Just to put, I'm with you. I like everyone. I'm not saying that I am truly arguing against this or something, but it's not quite rational either. If the
yeah.
corpse is just a corpse, whatever your views about religion or spirituality are. I mean, I would imagine there are very few people who think that the person is somehow still there in the corpse.
The body. Yeah, I did find it interesting that whether you can just chalk it up to, oh, the garbage, they were digging through the garbage, now there are animals digging through the ground, but just that sense of that scene of animal trying to dig up that dead body and use it for food, for whatever they need to survive, coupled with whatever Carol is trying to find, whatever she's about to discover. Yeah, that sense of what Carol does with and thinks about the body that she is trying to there preserve and protect versus what potentially these people are doing, if that's in fact what it is that we find.
Yeah, right. So if that's what it is, again, like the gas makes sense and so on and so forth, along with moral disgust that I think your average person would feel in the real world, right?
Yes, yes.
We have these notions: you have to respect the dead, you have to honor the dead. It's wrong to, desecrate the corpse, all of that kind of stuff, right? So, but I think it could make some sense if these hive mind others just
Hmm.
kind of recognize almost how that's not super rational. And like what? I mean, what do human beings do? Oh, we're going to dedicate a certain amount of land to bury corpses in. Is that really a good use of that land? You know what I
That's right.
mean?
That's right.
Um, or we're gonna burn it, we're gonna incinerate it, right? We're gonna cremate it. So like, yeah, I really have landed on that as what I think is going on. And I wish I could do better in terms of coming up with any other possibility, but I'm kind of at a loss of
Yeah.
what else it could be.
I'm sort of formulating as we're talking here a theory in my head. Whether this could be completely off base, but at this point we can probably speculate theories that are wildly inaccurate. So e pluribus unum, out of many, one.
Yeah,
Um, the idea that as members of this race or of these afflicted people die, they are consumed by the others, therefore potentially making those that survive stronger and stronger and stronger, and eventually there will be only a few left that have consume the many, making them something, sort of stronger, more superior, more something that rise to the level of, I don't know, super race, something that then can go on and provide the technology or the information to the next planet so they could do it all over again. This is just off the top of my head, but here, there's my current theory du jour.
that's interesting. I mean, this might seem like a non sequitur, but you made me start wondering whether they have sex.
Yeah, that's the question too, is do they breed? Do they
Yeah,
are they going to continue to reproduce? And without or in the absence of that knowledge, what happens, when or if the entire race dies off? We don't, I think, know about reproduction yet.
right. I would guess that they do,
Yeah,
or if it's not through, what we might call normal means, that they would breed embryos or something
yeah.
artificially, or one would imagine, but we don't know, and that might be another thing the show plays
And
with.
if it's a particular set of what was it, RNA sequence that has to be present for the people to become afflicted, that's something that's passed down through, in a hereditary way. We don't know that.
I would think so, but yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, you're right, we don't. But I mean, they really strain plausibility a little bit with that whole bit anyway,
yeah,
of it being at the level of like we can change your DNA through a kiss or something.
yeah, yeah.
So if it's as simple as,
That's true. But just through saliva, it can pass. So yeah, I'm sure it can pass through DNA.
yeah, if saliva does it, then I'm pretty sure that
Yeah.
um reproduction would. And then like, even if it somehow didn't, you just kiss the baby, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. Yeah.
so yeah, I'm not super worried about that, but I'm curious what we might learn about that. I guess my expectation, if we're speculating on what happens next, one, I think that she's pulled up in that tarp and like seen human corpses.
Yeah,
She's going to be aghast, and then she probably is going to go confront them somehow, right? Like she is
yeah,
probably going to go get in her car and drive until she finds one or
yeah,
something and
yeah.
yell at them. I don't know. I don't. Will she yell at them? She knows if she yells at them, they might all freak out and die.
Yeah, I think as she gets closer and closer to unsolving them, well, I don't know if she's going to solve the mystery, but as she gets closer to a sense of what an answer might be, she will have some sort of interaction with them where she is demanding more answers.
Yeah. Or maybe we'll go to Manusos and, Manusos will
Yeah.
get her message
Yeah.
and then try to figure out how to contact her or whatever. He's got to be in the next episode,
Yeah.
right?
There are already things out there, images and log lines for the next episode that tell us that we are going to at least spend a large part of that next episode apart from Carol. So that much is out there.
Oh, man, what if it's the whole episode?
Yeah, that's what I'm worried about.
What if
That's what
they
I'm worried
do that, the super cliffhanger?
about. Yeah, I know. And the episode dropped early, so you have to wait even longer.
Right, right. So put out this one out early, and then next week we just spend the whole time with Manusos,
Yeah,
and then in 2 weeks we finally see what's under the tunnel.
exactly. Yeah, no, not interested in that.
Not ruling it out as a possibility, people. Steel yourselves for such possibilities, I guess. Um, Thinking about does it for this one. I mean, I thought this was really, really entertaining episode. Personally, I love the drone stuff. I mean, I thought that the
Yeah,
scene where the drone like gets caught on the light fixture, I thought that was just hilarious.
that was that's my favorite part of the episode. Yeah.
Because they tell her that it has to be under 17 pounds, and she just kind of like, meh. And that's
Close
the
enough.
bag's too heavy, right? That's why the bag was too heavy. I'm pretty sure. So the drone can't do it. It gets caught. All of that. Some really good stuff in here. But all right, anything else you want to say on this one before we wrap up?
No, I think that's it. Well, nice to have this episode before Thanksgiving, and yeah, we'll I guess see the next one Friday, December 5th.
Oh, yeah. Thanks as always for listening to the podcast. Hope you all enjoyed it. So please do leave a good rating, review, all that good stuff. If you're on YouTube, press the thumbs up, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Greatly appreciate it. You can follow TV Obsessive on social media. If you search for TV Obsessive, you should find us. Check out tvobsessive.com to find written work there on all sorts of TV shows, past and present, and so on. And as far as the podcast goes, we'll be back with you in, I guess, 9 days when
Yeah.
episode 6 is out. And we'll see you then.
All right. Happy Thanksgiving. See you next time.